right-wing media host, Michael Knowles, just completely had a mask off moment and said the quiet part out loud for many of those who hatefully obsess over transgender people. And he just said the most overt, hateful part of this ideology. Quote, "There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism." And later on, he says, "Transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely." Take a look at this.
There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. It is all or nothing. If transgenderism is true, if men really can become women, then it's true for everybody of all ages. If transgenderism is false, as it is, if men really can't become women, as they cannot, then it's false for everybody too. And if it's false, then we should not indulge it, especially since that indulgence requires taking away the rights and customs of so many people. If it is false,
it doesn't.
Then for the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level. There can be...
As vile, and like I said, mask off as it gets. And when people accurately called him out for using genocidal rhetoric, eradicating transgenderism, he portrayed himself as the victim. I never said that. That would be saying transgender people. I said transgenderism. And the comparison that will, if you're at all blurry on this, that makes this very clear, that I've now heard multiple individuals make, is if you said the same sentence about Judaism and then responded when you got criticism for using horribly violence-provoking language, and you went, "No, I didn't say Jewish people, I said Judaism. We have to eradicate that." No one would stand for that, even though you're talking about the ism and not the people. It is truly stunning. And why would he do such a thing? Oh, maybe for clout. Maybe because this is popular among a certain population, unfortunately, of our country. And when we talk about these discussions, and I say the reason why I don't have any interest in engaging in a conversation about any topic relating to transgender people with the right wing, not the whole right wing. There are good faith people who would fall right of center, but the radical far right that we talk a lot about is because of stuff like this. What I've said in the past is I'm totally willing to have a good faith discussion about what do we do about sports in regard to transgender people. How do we make sure that that is the best situation possible? What do we and how do we manage the treatment? What type of treatment? What age that transgender youth get? When do we start introducing and discussing different subjects? All of those things we can discuss. And I don't think you're a hateful, horrible person for having questions about them. But I do think you're a hateful, hateful person if this is your underlying motivation, right? Because this is what motivates a lot of those questions about these other things. Now, good faith individuals can have good faith discussions about the things I just listed and many others. Michael Knowles can't. So I'm not interested in discussing with someone like Michael Knowles nuanced and important and interesting discussions otherwise. Now, the reason he did this is because it gets a lot of popularity among individuals, as I said, and then he gets to get booked on Tucker Carlson and complain about how he's the real victim here.
I've been called all sorts of nasty things by the liberal press, Tucker, so I tend to expect everything, but I have to admit, being accused of genocide did take me by surprise. That seemed extreme even for the fake news media. And I think it surprised a lot of lawyers as well. The Daily Beast and the Huffington Post and Rolling Stone and a number of other outlets all spread this lie about me. They just put words into my mouth that I never said. You heard exactly what I said. I said that for the good of these people in particular, so presumably I don't want to murder them, and I talked about an ideology in particular. I'm not talking about eradicating any human beings, talking about an ideology here. They said that I wanted to commit genocide, and I said, this is libel. This is actionable libel. You know, the libel laws in the United States have quite a high threshold.
Take it away, my man. Try to sue me or anyone else, because it's exactly the rhetoric you're using. Just to be clear, if the only time rhetoric was called out as being genocidal or borderline genocidal rhetoric was when someone literally said, we should do a genocide, then there would never be that criticism. Obviously, people used veiled language. Here, not veiled barely at all, just adding ism. And again, picture the exact same statement. I don't even want to say the sentence verbatim because that could just get in so many places so wrong. But picture what he said, eradicating blank, but instead replace transgenderism with Judaism, which is a very apt comparison. Like I said, I've seen many commentators make over the last 24, 48 hours. And then here is Tucker Carlson just echoing this horrible language.
So the ideology leads to the castration of children, and therefore it's bad. It is a cancer on the country. Of course, that's true. But for the crime of saying so, the Daily Beast, which is an obedient servant of the people in power, a big defender of castrating.
If you want to talk about, clearly because of how they discuss transgender youth, they have no idea about what is and isn't happening. Zero idea. So I can't even talk with Tucker Carlson about trans youth because he doesn't have any earthly idea what the treatments are that do and don't happen, what their effects are, when they're allowed, all that. No idea. He just believes that, as Don Jr. has been saying, 3-year-olds are being transitioned. Yeah, okay, you have no idea what you're talking about, so get out of the conversation. Adults will discuss the topics that you're wanting to talk about for hateful reasons. And again, I want to re-say, this is not saying that having or asking questions or trying to get a solution to some discussions that we're having that are sometimes complex, that's perfectly fair. I get it. That's not what's going on here. This is just hate. And he's calling transgenderism a cancer. Michael Knowles is saying it needs to be eradicated. That does not end well. And it has to be called out. Because if we wait until people are actually saying explicitly exactly the words that they're saying they're not saying, it's too late. That is exactly the rhetoric that's being perpetuated, and it is dangerous stuff. And whether it's because that's actually the ambition of someone like Michael Knowles, sure, okay, it's not. But he knows it plays well, and others will be motivated to do horrible things, as we've seen examples of. Doesn't matter. The actions still speak so loudly about where the motivations, where the heart, where the mind is for individuals like Michael Knowles, like Tucker Carlson, and they have absolutely no place in any good faith discussion about any subject at all, but especially when it comes to transgender people, human beings in our country that are being dehumanized beyond belief. Truly stunning.